Hello everybody and welcome to part 29 of my Desert China series. There's a lot to talk about, so I'm going to try and get into it and make it as quick as possible. The first thing I wanted to touch on is that in the last part we had taken Fortaleza, but as we had seen in the Inca El Dorado series, a city-state will take over a city and raze it to the ground. So when Ragusa was softening up Fortaleza, we didn't have to seize it. There's a good chance Ragusa, we should have, still softened it up with the artillery, but there's a good chance Ragusa would have seized it and then burned it to the ground. By doing it this way, we do get to sell off their buildings, so there is an upside, but I just wanted to point that out in case you're in a game where that one extra city is going to work against you. And this might be such a game. We had gone to town on all four different Inca cities, only two of which we actually needed, but the other ones were just to kind of devastate that religion. It was getting out of hand. I may have overtaken it a little too far as how I addressed that, but nevertheless, took four cities as the point. So now we're taking two over here, about to take a third. For this reason, I don't think there's a reason to go for Salvador, and we didn't need to take Fortaleza. A couple of end of turn corrections that I want to make. I stopped this guy here for this, but this is a natural wonder. Acts as a block. So this is actually a better way to form a wall along this border from the Iroquois units here, simply because it protects this antiquity site. And that's another thing I wanted to talk about, antiquity sites. We have two archaeologists, as you can see. And the reason why I turned off workers and turned on archaeologists is we're far enough in the game where, seeing which worker is going to finish so we can get that extra 2 gold per turn or whatever. Not very valuable right now, but the archaeologist stage in the game is always very mentally taxing for me because you got to find all the antiquity sites on the map, which by now the tile yields and stuff, there's a lot of clutter on the map. It's harder to see. Then it takes time to build the archaeologists. You got to figure out how many you want to build, which sites they're going to. It takes them time to get built, time to travel where they're going, time to develop the tiles. So there's potential that you get your wires crossed and two people to the same one. Assume you've got people being sent to one that doesn't. I've had times where the archaeologists hop in the water on auto and units keep moving, so they just never get to their destination. And then you got to figure out, okay, how many do they get marked up into artifacts? How many slots do I have? What do I need to build where, when? It's just this huge mess. I have done some planning to that effect off camera. I made a map of all the ones I think that we could get to easily without incident. Now obviously I don't know which one of those we're going to make into landmarks versus artifact. It's going to be based mostly on the era. What little research I did, people seem to say, yeah, if it's ancient era, go ahead and make it a landmark. Otherwise you might be better off with the artifact. Because right now, the reason we're doing this is because of the ideological pressure from Rome. If we go into culture victory here, we can see we're getting 13 on happiness. And that's fine. We've got a ton of happiness. We can afford it. But this is our main issue with Rome. And I'm phrasing it that way because I want to touch on that a bit in a second. Now, for this reason, made Broadway, which is probably a bit of a waste of hammers, a little bit of an overreaction. Made sure to start getting the archaeologists out and stuff like that. In light of that, you might think, okay, just take the artifacts, that way you get the tourism, and that's a good point. However, we are approaching satellites, or rather radar, excuse me. I haven't fully decided whether we're going to satellites or to nuclear fission. I'm leaning towards satellites because since we got such a late start on war and the geography being such as it is, I think we'll have a quicker victory if we just beat on our science rivals and then take off into space. So I'm favoring satellites right now. But we do have a great scientist coming out in 8 turns. So yeah, and this is the end of this turn, so technically 7. In 7 turns we should have radar. And what that means is airports can start being built. And so like right now in ancient era, I forget the math, it's going to be worth 5, 6, 7, somewhere in there, culture per turn. Well, that translates with an airport to 3 tourism. So we'll actually get more tourism out of the archaeologists making landmarks. For this reason, the way I sent these existing archaeologists off to the distance. I don't think that was a good idea. We do have two here that are within workable range of Shanghai. We have two here that are within workable range of Nanjing, and two here that are within workable range of Guangzhou. So I'd rather have the archaeologists getting on top of them first. That way they have time to do their thing. We can figure out if we want landmarks, and then whether or not which cities we want to build airports in to convert those landmarks into tourism. And then finally, the last thing I want to address before we get the ball rolling here is not only are we not going to take Salvador, but I'm changing my mind about going after Rome next. Most of the reason we wanted a piece of Rome, like we wanted Brazil because they had a lot of wonders. In this city alone, there was 5. I think that's all they had, but still, they're all right here. That's 10 faith per turn for us, along with various other benefits that we get to have. Now with Rome, our biggest beef is that they're kind of a rival in terms of military and science, but also because they're the ones that chose the extra ideology and causing us that 13 unhappiness. Now we can combat that with our culture and our tourism, and yeah, destroying his cities takes away his culture and tourism, and that, you know, slants it. And that's a valid point. We can come back to him. The reason why I want to leave him go for now is a couple things. If you count out the tiles, Kume is actually within bomber range of Beijing, Nanjing, Sao Paulo, and I didn't count from Rio because by that point it's the fourth city. It's a little redundant, but point is we're real close to their cities. We can have at them at any time, and we're about to find oil. We're going to get that up and running. We can start making bombers, which means in the capital I'll start building the XP, the military buildings. I had actually meant to buy the barracks when I started building the artillery. Somehow that slipped my mind, so unfortunately we didn't get the one upgrade right away. Where is it? Well, I guess none of them have it. The brick wall looking one that, you know, buffs their damage versus cities. On the other hand, if we go to military here, you'll see the Iroquois do kind of dwarf. It's hard to notice because we're dwarfing them so significantly, but they are past Rome quite a bit, and then in science they're past Rome quite a bit. So very clearly the Iroquois are more of our rivals, and they have units on our borders, which mostly has nothing to do with us, so it's not like that's a trigger alone. But their nearest city is not in bombable range, so taking the units we have now and pushing that way, and then because once one city falls, we can start moving bombers into there and use that to help us, you know, spread to other cities. And then finally, if you take a look at the declarations of friendship, this one's going to expire in 16 turns, and the Rome one I think is more like 19. Yeah, 19. So it's just going to expire first, and that's not that big of a deal. It's only a 3-turn difference, but we could be using this time to get everybody resituated and get prepared for that push. So that's everything I wanted to cover. So we're going to pass it. Oh, look, Poland actually attacked the city. Oh, and the counterattack kills him. Okay. Well, that's really good for us because that was the last tile Poland was posing a threat, if you can even call it that.
It would be so simple.
Biology is finished, and this is a really great quote, so I'll just take a second to point that out. I'm not going to go into hospitals. It was Filthy Robot that suggested by this point in the game it's just too late, and he was mostly talking about multiplayer, but I think even in this situation, our science is really good. This is not going to be around long enough to make any useful difference. When you look at our science, 1 citizen right now, even with multipliers, it's just not enough, and that's about all we could expect from these, is maybe 1 more citizen per city by the end of the game. Not worth it. We do reveal oil, though. Our workers get oil, the ability to construct land oil wells, and then we do get that extra trade route. So I'm going to go ahead into the capital where the caravan can easily be spit out in 1 turn and go ahead and do that, because one of my personal weaknesses as a player is when a tech is finished, I don't spend enough time saying, okay, in what ways does this change the game? And a lot of times that leads to having additional trade routes and not taking advantage of them. Alright, looks like archaeology got stolen. That's bad news for us. That means somebody else can also see the archaeology locations. Normally in this situation, what that means is I would favor the ones outside of our borders, like I kind of was at first, but Like I said, right now we just need to figure out which cities need to be building airports. So we should focus on the ones that are in our borders for now. Oh, wow, 3 instances of oil. Okay, there's one. And we did just finish the rails in our homeland. So let's bring this worker up here. There's another, and that's handy because we had 2 workers out this way that had nothing better to do. We just had this one repairing the wheat, and now that's done, so he'll be the one. I think there's a river flowing here, so he won't be able to step and start next turn, which is unfortunate, but we'll get to it the turn after that. And then, okay, so our other worker here can come over and get started on that. So 3 of the 4 workers we've left in our homeland is now being diverted for oil. I know we have a preponderance of workers down here, but they also have a lot of work to do. Convert the rail, a lot of removal of jungle to get to resources and stuff. But I do think what I'm going to do with this worker here is start bringing him back. Since we are going to focus on our home antiquity sites, this really great river tile is about to get destroyed, which is compounded by the fact that we have not yet developed either of these river tiles, and this is a hydro plant city, so yeah, every river tile we can get, the better. So I'll have this worker come and work on this one first, since this one we have to remove marsh from, and then as he's doing that and some archaeologist finishes this up, if we don't convert it into a landmark, he can then put that farm back up. So, and then we'll just have to figure out among these workers here how to divvy up the work. We'll get back to that in a second. Venice has denounced the Aztecs. Alright. Oh, you know what? The other thing that I forgot to mention about the end of last turn is that we had duplicate ivory. I'm pretty sure one of them's coming in from a city-state, but nevertheless we could have sold it off. So that is my fault. There was so much to cover at the start of the video. I managed to forget this aspect. It's just one turn, so I'm not too worried about it. But let's see, that's 2.5 gold, so 5 GPT. That should be fair, and he agrees. So there we go. Alrighty, so first things first, let's get these archaeologists fixed, if you can call it that. This way we get these 2 onto the ones in this city. Here, down here, this guy can... Oh, he can actually move here and get started. That's great. As far as the ones over here, 2 of these archaeologists just spit out. And even though this one is closer to Beijing, I think we could get started this turn. Right? Oh, most certainly. I think I'd rather come here because, like I said, we got this valuable farm here. So if we can start working on all but one, I think this is the one we should leave for last, just for that reason. So we'll get started on that, and just to double check, we're not actually working that tile. Alright, construction projects. More archaeologists for now. We do want museums up, and we kind of want to make sure that they're up in time to where when airports become available, the cities that need them can build them. So both Shanghai and Guangzhou will probably build this one last archaeologist, switch to museums, and go from there. And that approach also has the benefit that as we figure out which ones we want landmarks, it might be that we don't actually need more slots. And I'm pleased that it's working out that these 2 cities are the ones to do it, because even though this is kind of wasting its time on Broadway, this is our highest production expand. So I'm thinking in here will be another city that will want the military XP buildings, because these 2 cities together could whip out bombers pretty quick, I'm guessing. Obviously Nanjing does not have the benefit of Brandenburg Gate, but that's okay. Alright, so yes, regardless of whether we're going satellites or nuclear fission, we do want to get into radar, and come time for bulbing, I want radar to get finished, so we'll just click on that. Since save a little bit of time and energy trying to address that every single turn kind of thing. Alright, time to assault Sao Paulo. Okay, and it's looking like it's not going to fall this turn, and that's okay. How do we address... I got a cavalry over here. Let's run forward real quick, do some scouting. Because we might as well use the mounted units we have. Well, maybe not this one. In fact, I'm going to use this little reminder I think we just got the one building left to sell here. Yes, we do. Okay. And then we also have just the one building here. Yeah, okay. So both of our raising cities are fully deconstructed. We don't have to worry about that. But what I was looking at is we can use our mounted units to kind of run around where we are at war, picking off trade routes and civilians as we find them. Don't think this great general is going to leave the city, and I don't see much of anything else. We could come down here onto this hill. I don't think we have open borders. Let's do that. Okay. We'll come up there. Oh, very nice. This was actually part of the reason I wanted to chase around Brazil, because with the oil being found and pulling one worker off from our Brazilian lands, I should say, we really could use another worker. Obviously, the extraction of this one's going to be a little convoluted, but should be possible. If he's here, I'm guessing he's running through here. We can actually check this real quick. Brazil, global relations, open borders is designated by blue, and yes, they do have open borders with Morocco. So this guy's probably running through here, and that's good news for us, because not only is this a hill, so he's going to be slowed down, but there's a lot of border here this thing has to get through. Even with this river here, we'll be able to outrun it. So yay, we get another worker coming. Fantastic. For that reason, I kind of want this guy to start coming back around. Maybe come over here. This guy, when he's healed up, can come over here. We're not going to be at war with Brazil much longer. Maybe after we capture this guy and if we need his lands to extract it. But after that. So this guy can move in here. And realistically, we don't actually need anybody else. These three keep all of his units away, which means it's going to be free for us to capture. So, these guys will stay here one more turn. Probably should keep the Great General here since he is buffing all the artillery. So, we'll have this guy defend as well. And then since this guy's coming down to develop the citrus. Actually, I guess we don't have to protect this worker, because if he bothers with his cannon to capture there, we just kill the cannon. But nevertheless, let's go ahead and... do we have a foreign legion that can occupy that spot? Not that guy. What about this one? No. Really? Oh, because this isn't considered our road. Okay, we'll have this guy come and do it then. That's fine. So, we didn't actually need that hex at all anyways. Although, our worker being able to just cut through is really nice. Okay, so that means this worker's got the job. Let's start bringing this guy back. We're not going to assault Salvador, so we can start bringing things back. We've pretty much gutted his army, I think. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I don't know what he's got over here, but I don't think we have to worry about Rio being attacked. And of course, even if we do, we've got these roads here that are ours now, and we can make use to jump back and forth. So let's start bringing this Great General towards the northern border. Man, this mountain wall is so beneficial. It's been an enormous part of the game thus far. So let's see here. He can reach here. Oh, I didn't bother looking at their Foreign Legion or not status. That's going to kind of matter. Looks like we actually have too many people trying to get out this way. So what we can do, because this guy's going to finish the road tile next turn. Yeah, we can do it like that, and that way everybody can hop on the road and start heading up to the northern border. You just sit tight there, buddy. He can start coming up towards the northern border. In fact, he can occupy this hill. So this guy, like here, just to have a more contiguous, just in case things pop off here right now. In fact, this guy can come down here. We can start pushing forward, occupying as much of our own land as possible. as we are able. Here we hopped in the water so we can get back here. He'll make use of the T1 road system to get. We'll reconvert Cusco. Because somebody was pointing out that I don't need to be fighting for, against Buddhism so hard. And they're right. If we look at the advantages of Buddhism, the faith from desert will actually be beneficial in Machu. Maybe we should have never even converted Machu. The monasteries, whatever, I think those cities already have monasteries anyways. The culture for 5 followers of this religion and other civilization, I'm pretty sure that accrues to Incas only. Gardens provide 2 happiness. Okay, this city maybe has a garden. Yeah, so, but I mean, that's 2 happiness there. This city's not on a river, so not very useful. The religious spread is actually something we want to work against, and the whole may build science buildings with faith. Like, these are puppets. We don't have that control. So, desert faith from Machu would probably be beneficial, so I don't think I'll have the prophet erase that, but Cusco, yeah, I guess we don't need it to be Taoism. It's good enough to not be Buddhism, but at this point we could fully convert that and slow it all down, and that would still leave the prophet with what? 2 charges for like Rio and Rome, which we can actually transmit without going to war with them. Or let's see, what's the pressure like here? Oh, Taoism's got 6 followers, 60 pressure. Yeah, so like Antium perhaps. We'll convert Antium with the 4th charge, and that'll help secure Rome passively, I think. Alright, so this is the one free agent that we have. I think originally after ripping up this road, it was going to be my intention to rip up these roads. However, the prophet's going to need it for a second. These horses are undeveloped, so let's do that with him. You just sit tight for a minute. You armor up. Okay, lots going on there. Very good. Alright. Not sure what this is all about, or if they've figured out yet they can't get through, but there is a lot of them there. Hey, and our next great general was born. Okay. And Broadway is finished, for better or worse. The same turn we get a natural great musician, so we just went from 0 great works of music to 2. And I do apologize because of copyright YouTube thingies. I can't record these with the music volume up, so when we go to make our great works, we won't be able to enjoy the music of them. Although we can enjoy the audio of making it. I always love that. The whole slamming the guitar. Oh, yeah. There we go. So there's 2 great works of music just like that. Alright, so theming bonus is music from the same era and civilization. I think that's a good thing because, yeah, we've been in we got into atomic early through atomic theory, and we're going to be here for a little while. So let's see here. Great musician. 17 turns, probably. Right, because how would we jump? Oh, wait, maybe not. Information era when we hit satellites. Is that reason enough to go nuclear fission first? I'm not so sure, but maybe. Because maybe we use Nanjing to build atomic bombs, since it has a lot of production but doesn't have Brandenburg Gate. I don't know, that seems kind of silly. If this is going to be our victory condition, we should beeline it, I think. And plus, delaying winning strategy for the sake of 1 theming bonus is probably ill-advised, so let's not make that mistake. Alright, Inca Renaissance, that's probably something we captured. So we'll do that for now, on the off chance we actually get to satisfy that theming bonus at some point. Okay. Artillery, there we go. This is the promotion I was talking about. Volley. Would have already had it if I had built or bought the barracks here like I originally intended. It was on my mind at one point, hey, we're about to spit out some artillery, buy the barracks. And I just, apparently it escaped me. Caravan is finished. But we came into the screen because city has grown and the factory is being neglected. This is also the turn that we're going to get off this oil, so I'm just going to do this now while we're here. And then as far as building in the capital, let's take a look at this real quick. He's spitting out all of our homeland antiquity sites are being addressed except for one. And Nanjing, having finished Broadway, let's go ahead and move those purple guys into the factory here. That's better. Can build an archaeologist in 2 turns. So in 2 turns, and let's see here, 1, 2, 3, 4. That's 1 movement point. 1, 2 movement points. 3, start. So in 2 turns, he can actually start on this tile, which means we don't need this to create a archaeologist for this. So all of our homeland landmark antiquity sites will be addressed. So I'm thinking this might be a good turn, since our overarching plan is to compete with Rome peacefully, is to up our culture. Because if you look in the capital, our culture seems like a lot. Base is 65. Yeah, so a broadcast tower would significantly enhance that. But it requires a museum first. So I'm thinking museum into broadcast tower, and then probably do our... because, yeah, we can actually start. Okay, so we got 7 turns before we would start building bombers in this city. So let's get on that broadcast tower. It's not that important. Our culture's doing great. In fact, we're going to have a little too much. I figure next we'll probably go for the National Wonder Happiness, just to make sure we can take as many cities as we need. And then the next policy, depending on when it's timed. We got to time this one right. But we do want that one sooner rather than later, so we can use our accruing faith for great scientists. Okay, we addressed that, Horses, we'll get to that. Lots of Sikhs investors. Where is the new guy? He is ahead of the old new guy. So let's see here. This finishes now. And we don't actually need a great general up here right this second, because I don't think things are popping off. So let's take a look at their city over here. Oh, yes, nice. 1, 2, 3. Okay. So if we dropped a citadel here, we could take some of his land, get some iron, and upset him. Because if there's anything we can do to get him to break his promise of friendship soon, that would actually be beneficial to us. Because that's where we're at, right? We have so many great generals that we can afford to use one for grabbing land. We'll have one down in the south for defensive purposes, and to later push into Rome. We'll have one up north to conquer, half of the Iroquois lands. So yeah, I'm gonna have this guy start heading off this way. You're heading to the horses. Is that all of your movement? It is. Okay. All right. This is the new caravan. And let's see here. Nobody's asking for that. And let's take a look at our existing trade. Whoops. Trade routes available. No, your trade routes. That's what I wanted. Okay, 2 feeding Shanghai, 1 feeding Guangzhou, 3 feeding Beijing. That seems accurate. And then we have Guangzhou to Shanghai and Nanjing to Guangzhou. So all of the religious pressure we could benefit from internal trade routes is already taking place. Is that correct? 2, 4, 6. Yes. Guangzhou's the odd man out, and he's being addressed by both Shanghai and Nanjing, which means we can just send this one over to, let's see, 184 hammers, obviously it's the capital, 70, 66. All right, Guangzhou's the production runt, so let's go ahead and send it as hammers to Guangzhou. There we go. All right, so now if we need that city to build airport or, military bombers, that kind of thing, we'll have a little bit extra kick. Alright, you get started on the citrus. It's time to kill Sao Paulo. And it looks like this guy was the one that got damaged. I am not going to pillage that because it's a Brazil wood camp. It's a good tile. We can't build them. So let's just go ahead and splat. Create puppet. And we'll take a second here. Whoops. Take a second here to look at all we got. Ooh, not so much. This is only 3 items down here, but they're good ones. Don't care so much about the growth, but happiness, that's good. We got science, production, culture. Nice. No great works, unfortunately, but, Okay, so as far as these guys go, I want to put this guy here. This is something well, actually, you know what? That should be what I'm using my mounted units for, occupying these distant antiquity sites that we're not getting onto right away because we're focusing on homeland ones. Whew. Yeah. Okay. Well, I can't wait to see the results of these archaeologists, because any city that doesn't have to build an airport can build more archaeologists, and that's something we're going to need to know here shortly. Alrighty, he's yeah, let's move this guy. A lot of melee through here. Up here, and there, and there, something like that. Again, I don't anticipate anything jumping off, but we want to be prepared. Okay, the city is gone. City ruins. It doesn't even tell you which city it was. That's interesting. You get started on that. It's going to take 7 turns. That's unfortunate. Right. So we've got. All right. This would be a good time. Actually, maybe I shouldn't have moved him so quick. Okay, he's infantry, so that's good. Home defense. That's what we want. It's the Foreign Legion we'd rather have pushing into. I don't think we're going to need all the Foreign Legion though, especially since there's such a narrow band here. I mean, we're allied with Sidon. We can get open borders with this guy. So it's not like we have to worry about the breadth. We should get a worker up here sooner rather than later. Get a stem of road here. Although with the Iroquois having to build all these roads, really we only need to tap into that. It's not rail, so it'll be a little slower, but we do have machinery, so it won't be terrible. But anyways, what I was getting at is we don't need all of our Foreign Legion up here because it's pretty much a straight road. Brantford into Buffalo Creek into Grand River. Then we would want Onondaga. Obviously, the fact that Lake Simcoe's here is going to be slightly challenging because it's technically a two-front war, but and who knows, he might actually Lake Simcoe is acting as a canal city, so any boats that he has can be acting, if they're ranged, can be acting upon us from up here. So yeah, once Grand River is taken, we're going to have to keep a close eye on it. It might be vulnerable to water. But anyways, it's more of like a straight road in, so it's not like we need to fan out or anything like that. At the same time, we don't need much down here. So let's just take a look at our count here. 10. 6 of them started out as Foreign Legion. And the only reason that matters, in case it's not already obvious, is the whole reason we named them that way, is because they get a buff of being 20% stronger outside of friendly territory. So they're the ones you want pushing into other people's lands. So of the 4 infantry that remain, we did have one up here, but this is going to become an active border, so we can swap him out. 1 in the west, maybe 2, and 2 down here, but I don't think 2 is enough to be a valid. So let's see, maybe 1 Foreign Legion stays down here, so that's 3 down here, 5 on the attack. That seems good, because we'll have 4 machine guns. There'll be machine guns by then, and 4 artillery. So yeah. Speaking of which, this guy finished the rail here, so let's start getting almost everybody north. Is there any of these guys that are actually just straight infantry? No. What about these guys? He is. Okay, so you stay down here. We'll do that, which means he can move the fastest. We'll move him first, so we're not having too many people trip on each other. You're on the road next, so we'll move you next. You can reach just about as far. Likewise, you're on the road, but some of it is actual road, so this might be 2 hexes behind, sure enough. Okay, and then both of these can actually hop on and then get going. So we'll move Helmet Head first, just because the artillery is ranged. And look at that, it actually ends up in a city tile, which is a fantastic place for such an item. And then also the Great General is coming along too, because this Great General is going to go steal some land. All the more reason to get 2 infantry over there. So this infantry guy, he'll be one of our 2 southern infantry guys. And of you fine folks, Here's another one. Okay, so once this infantry is healed, we'll send him to the west. And we got 2 in the south. But where does that leave us with these guys? These guys are Foreign Legion. Okay. So we wanted 1 Foreign Legion to stay down here. And then the other guy going to the west would be whichever one of these is just vanilla infantry. Namely that guy. So let me actually move him down so that he's 1 turn away from getting onto these hills. That makes sense to me. You get on the road, start heading back. You get on the road, start heading back. And this great general should stay down here. We'll leave him here because this is the most concentrated border with Rome. Okay. You get started on that. Let's see. We've already addressed that, so let's see here. What would be his best move? Onto the road? Yeah, that seems good. He heals up 1 more turn. Bye-bye Fortaleza. You get started on that. Okay, that is everything. Well, not quite. We got some sellings to do. Okay, iron first. How much iron do we have? More than 5, and he's got a luxury we don't, so let's just do that. Pad our happiness as much as possible. A lot better than the 2 gold per turn we would have gotten, or perhaps 4 or whatever. Last we knew, I think he was not yet giving us full value, but now he's okay with it. Truffles, truffles, truffles. Do we have anybody that needs or wants truffles? None of our cities, and it doesn't look like any of the city-states. We're looking for gems, and that's it. So those truffles can be sold. Alright, and we had 1 person that was willing to buy them. And he's got some cash for us. Although this is not going to go very well. In fact, instead of 7 and 32, we should, or 6 and 32, we should do 7 and 8. It's slightly more in the long run. Since we're friends. There we go. Alright, now that is officially everything. And we are past the half-hour mark, so I'm going to call it here. A lot of jibber-jabber. I do apologize for that, but I've been staring at this map for so long. The last few parts I kind of played in rapid succession, so it was worthwhile to kind of take a step back, look at things work, because we were basically facing this window of declarations of friendship, standing army, what to do. Yeah, we could probably drop like, oh, right here would be a real good citadel spot. Oil, horses, yeah. We could probably provoke them, you know, maybe attack another city, make ourselves really monstrous. Get them to backstab us, open that up. But right now we're at a point where the world stage is pretty fragmented, so let's try and keep the peace as best we can. Use that window to kind of reposition ourselves. Planes are on the horizon, so stomping on Rome a little bit later is going to be fine. And the Iroquois are our bigger rivals anyways, and they've got a bunch of units here, so let's play some hacky sack. The moment, like if we were to declare war right now, I mean, not counting the declaration of friendship, between our units here and Sidon, I mean, they would just be slaughtered right where they stand. Anyways, you guys enjoy the rest of your day. Leave those comments below. Any tips, tricks, what you think of all the discussion, changes of direction, and I will see you guys in the next part. Take care.